Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do an old southern recipe, and it's really simple. You only really need some country style pork ribs, which are these little things here, and some rice, and then you have a few other things from your pantry that you can use. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to sear these on all sides. And when you sear, you're not fully cooking the meat all the way through. I'm going to try to get them all in this pan. Not the pan I wanted to use, but we're just going to go with it. If you have any bacon grease, this would be like the perfect time to use it to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sear them on all sides. Salt and pepper them. And then we're going to add a few more things to this pan after we deglaze it, stuff like that. And it's just going to be a real simple, slow cooked on the stove kind of meal. I'm going to take these after they're seared, and I'm going to put them back in this little meat tray just for a few minutes. They're not fully cooked, so it's going to be okay. I'm going to salt and pepper these really well. And we're going to get them seared. And then sear them on all sides. I'll come back and show you the next step. You're going to need some beef broth, some water, salt and pepper, and then some spices and stuff. And I'll show you all that when I get done with this. Okay, y'all. So I've already seared everything. And it's time to add the rest of the ingredients so that these ribs can slowly cook. You're going to need a can of beef broth and 2 1/4 cups of water. I always use bouillon, so I always have it on hand. And you're going to need a teaspoon of liquid smoke. Instead of liquid smoke, I'm going to be using this. Don't have to even put either one of these in here. I'm just going to do a teaspoon. This gives it a little bit of flavor. Alright, we're going to need some more salt. 2 teaspoons. I'm doing barely 2 teaspoons, if that. Maybe more like a teaspoon and a half. Teaspoon of pepper. Because we want this very flavorful. Half a teaspoon of onion powder. I'm going to go a little over on that. It calls for half a teaspoon of paprika. I'm not going to put quite that much. Just barely half. Sorry, just barely a 1/4 of a teaspoon. And also, we're going to put in some red pepper flakes, and that's not going to be many. Just a 1/4 of a teaspoon or so. So not much at all. Little tiny pinch. Alright, so we're going to turn the heat back up. And we're going to deglaze this pan just a little bit. Not much. It does have some little bits on the bottom that I'm sure will cook off as it goes. So I don't want to do too much of that. Okay. So I've got this up a little bit high, and I'm going to let it start to boil. Then I'm going to reduce it. We're going to put the ribs back in there. And we're going to put a lid on this, and when we reduce it now, you're going to have to turn it low. You do not want it to come to a boil after that. Because you're going to let this cook for a couple of hours on your stove. Just simmering. And then we're going to remove them, shred them. So I'll come to you when it's time to take them out, so you can see a little bit of that process. Right now, I'm just going to try to get this to get hotter because I want to turn it down. I didn't drain it or anything. I wanted to, but I didn't want to lose all my little meaty bits and stuff like that. So we're just going to wait on this pan. We're going to add our ribs and a lid, but I'll come back in just a few minutes. Okay, y'all, so it's starting to try to boil, so we're going to cut this down on low. Cut it down. And we're going to put our ribs back in that are not cooked all the way, so they can slowly cook to pieces. And this is about 3 or 4 pounds worth of these. You do have a little bit of leeway there as far as the meat goes. Now we're going to cook these until they're coming to pieces. We're going to remove them from the pan. Stir around in there, make sure we get any little pieces of bone, because sometimes there's a little bit of bone in them, sometimes not. We're going to remove all that. We don't want anybody to break a tooth or anything like that. But you'll have time to go through all of that before you serve. Right now, I'm just trying to get these sit in here. I'm going to let them cook a couple of hours on low. Don't let this come to a boil. I mean, it's not the end of the world if it does, but you need to be catching it. So keep an eye on this and make sure that it doesn't come to a boil. We'll put a lid on it, cook it for 2 to 3 hours or until very tender. And then I will show you the next step. Okay, y'all. So I took out the ribs. I've shredded them. You can chop them if it doesn't feel like they're going to shred properly. It's perfectly fine. Just try to do it in as small as pieces as possible. And you need to taste your broth. See if you need some more seasoning. I feel like I need some more salt. Some more pepper. And some onion powder. Stir that up just a little bit. It is boiling. So, now that it's boiling, what I did was I took the ribs out, cut the burner off, let this sit a second, shredded my meat, got that done. I'm going to add it back, cut this back up on wool, so I'm going to add the meat back, and we're going to add 2 cups of uncooked rice, and I'm just using the parboiled. 2 cups of uncooked rice. And then you're going to put your meat back in. I'm just hoping this is enough liquid. It's nothing fancy. It's just a stick to your ribs kind of, no pun intended, meal. So what you're going to do is just cook this now like you normally would with anytime you cook rice. And I just had a thought that I'd probably need to add a bay leaf to this. So I'm going to find my bay leaves eventually. And I'm going to stick one of those in there too. You don't have to do that, but I want to try to give it a little bit more flavor. So I'm going to find those and I'm going to stick one of those in. You'll cook this, like I said, like you typically do. Bring to a gentle boil and cover, and it's already starting to boil. And then I'm going to cover it, and we're going to reduce the heat and let it continue to cook. If I were you, I would come back and kind of stir it, check on it, make sure it's not sticking. And if, for any reason, it does start to stick but the rice is not done, you can add just a little bit of water. Just a little bit, not too much. And I think if you just add just a little bit, it won't affect the taste as far as watering down the broth. Or if you have some more broth, just add a little bit more to it. Doesn't matter if it's chicken or beef. Just don't do too much. So do it as you go. Okay? I'll be back here as soon as this is done. I don't think we have anything left to do except for wait till the rice to get done. And I don't want you to overcook the rice. Just keep an eye on it, okay? Overcook it or overwork it. All right, I'll see you back here as soon as this is done. Okay, y'all, so this is the finished product. Did perfect. Rice cooked perfectly, like always. And it was pretty simple. You're going to need to test it first before you serve your family and see if it needs more salt. That rice really will soak up a lot of that salt. So you may need to watch out for that. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to make some chicken pot pie biscuits. So you need to go ahead and melt 3 tablespoons of butter in a saucepan on the stove. And then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of flour. I'm just going to use some all-purpose flour. 3 tablespoons. 3. Alright, now we're going to let this cook for just a few minutes. And then we're going to add some chicken broth. So this is going to be really, really, really simple. It's basically a chicken pot pie filling over biscuits. I'm going to try to get some of these lumps out real quick. Okay. And I've got medium-high heat going right now. And we're going to add 2 cups of chicken broth. And that. I'm going to stir really, really good. And it's going to take a few minutes to combine, but while we're waiting for that, we're going to go ahead and add some of our spices. You need a half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of pepper. I'm just going to generously throw that in. Half a teaspoon of oregano. Half a teaspoon of thyme. Dried thyme. Half a teaspoon of that. Then you're going to add a teaspoon of paprika. Teaspoon now. Now we're moving on to the bigger spices. It measures out a little bit more. 1 teaspoon of onion powder. Make sure it's onion powder. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Alrighty. Now we're going to get this bubbling. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit more. I've got 12 ounces of frozen mixed vegetables here. We're going to go ahead and add that in. Stir that up in there. Try to break those up a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot of carrots. It's supposed to be some mixed veggies, but I see a ton of carrots. Alright. Well, this is going to melt. You ain't got to worry about it. This is going to break up. And as soon as we get it to boiling, we're going to put our raw chicken in this. I hate that I added so much paprika. Alright, so we're going to give this a few minutes to start boiling, and then I'll come back. Okay, y'all, so it's bubbly. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my raw chicken. You're going to make sure that the gravy is covering the chicken. And I took 2 breasts, I think it was, and I cut them lengthwise. So that's why I have so many. So 2 good sized breasts. You're going to cut them lengthwise. I salt, peppered them, and put some garlic powder on them. And now I'm going to put them in our gravy. Real quick. When this is done, when the chicken is done, which shouldn't take but about 10 minutes or so, maybe a little longer depending on the thickness, you're going to take the chicken out, shred it, and put it back in. And then your dinner is just basically ready. We're going to make some biscuits, and then we'll just pour this over the biscuits and be ready to go. Today, instead of making homemade biscuits, I'm just going to do canned, but that's it. So try to make sure that your gravy is covering. I hate that I discolored my gravy a little bit. But anyway, just make sure that's covered with the gravy as best you can. And then I'm going to put a lid over this. We're going to turn this heat down to about medium. And we're going to let it cook for the next 10 minutes while I keep an eye on it. And we're going to make sure that it gets done. And then I'll be back with you when I shred it and put it back. Okay, y'all. So this is all finished. It's a finished product here. And I made some canned biscuits. I've already added the chopped up chicken back into the vegetable mixture. And that's it. The gravy is a little bit thicker than I had wanted it to be, but it still will work. Maybe use a little less paprika on that. But smells great, looks great, it's gonna work, and cheaply made. You don't need, I mean, you're using frozen vegetables, some chicken breasts, and a can of biscuits, basically. And that's it. So pretty simple, pretty easy on the budget for sure. And we would definitely make this again because without all the work of a pot pie. Okay, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.